Hey guys, Egnards here with another rousing game of Can We Red Crate It? A game that I just made up that doesn't have any rules and I'll probably forget about in the next Conquest cycle coming up in, September, October, November, in December. So we have our Ezra Conquest. Conquest Volume 16 will be starting on Monday in 3 days. It's Friday right now. And if there has ever been a signal that going for Ahsoka is not really an early to mid-game thing, this Conquest should help reinforce that point. I'm not saying you can't red crate it, I'm not saying you can't gold crate it, I'm not saying you can't get Ezra in 4 to 5 Conquests, but what I am saying is that this one looks to be a little bit tougher in ways that are a little different than before. So I don't necessarily think that the battle count is going to be relatively high for me at just under 12 million. We have seen Conquest where it's taken me up to 270 battles, even battling efficiency, in order to get that red crate. I actually think I'll be able to do this one in under 200 for the first Conquest cycle. However, they are very much more blatant about forcing us to use newer tools that the majority of players are not going to have available to them. There are multiple feats throughout multiple sectors, signaling different characters with very, very few stars for the majority of people, as well as boss feats, as well as mid-boss feats. I think that if you have specific tools available to you, things like JML, Jedi Master Kenobi, Lord Vader, you might find an easier time doing this. But what you are going to notice is that there are a lot of feats that require the same teams or getting really, really creative. So while I don't think I'm going to have a hard time or have to do a ton of battles to get through this one, I do think it is going to take me longer just having to wait on stamina because I'm not about stamina refreshes. Before we get into anything else, we're going to take a look at Discord. And it looks like from the data mine, we have some new, looks like some of these are maybe consumables based on there not being a cost associated with them. It looks like some of these are data disks based on the blip cost that is associated. We don't know for sure, but these look to be new things coming in for Conquest Volume 16. One notable one that I'm probably going to try to get my hands on, if it is a data disk, is Enchanted Assistance, just because of that geo feed that I think is in Sector 3, maybe it's Sector 4. If it is a consumable, I'm just going to have to do the best I can and hope for the best. Other than this, we don't know what type of data disk setup we're going to be seeing with this Conquest. Last time for Luthen, we said, hey, maybe offense, hey, maybe defense. We got something in the middle. So it's really hard to plan from the perspective of what my disk loadout is going to look like. Only being able to look at some of my non-negotiable disks or disks that I really want to prioritize. Voluntary Vanguard is number one. If Voluntary Vanguard is available now and it wasn't in the last set, this is going to be something that's going to allow me to not use Watt and allow me to rely on things other than Jedi Master Luke in order to do some of these lower character feats. If it is an offense set, I'm going to look for 3 to 4 Amplify Agonies to help me with things like kill, do battles, and kill with Morgan Elsbeth. If it is a defense set, I'm going to be looking for things like Leader's Resolve to speed up my teams. I'm going to be looking for things like Zealous Ambition to really supercharge my Night Sisters. I'm going to be looking for things, Leader's Resolve, Amplify Agony, Zealous Ambition, Voluntary Vanguard, and Ruthless Swiftness, okay? And that's usually available in all of them. Some people like to stack Ruthless Swiftness. I prefer to just use one of them. Personally, I find that it is enough for me. But again, we're going to be going in blind, and we're going to just have to hope for the best on Monday. So with that said, let's kind of take a look at what these sectors are looking like. right? We've got Sector 1 up on the screen, but also the global feats. Global feats defeat 250 enemies on the challenge path. That's relatively easy for most people. I always follow the challenge path as long as I do not need specific discs coming up. Win 20 battles with Night Sisters. We're going to have a lot of that going on in the sectors. It shouldn't be a problem. Attempt to inflict stagger 100 times. This one would be a little tougher if it was a single sector feat, but we've seen as high as 300 stagger in a single sector before, so I don't think this is going to be too terribly hard to get. Win 20 battles with Imperial Remnants. If you have Dark Trooper Moff Gideon or you're a whale and you have some of the new tools available, this might be something that you want to go for. I did not invest in this team, so it's going to be one that I'm not going to prioritize. Win 15 battles with at least 4 Gungans. Once again, CG's being pretty nice here by not requiring Jar Jar and locking out anyone that did not get him, and win 15 battles with Master Qui-Gon surviving. Master Qui-Gon being a part of Duel of the Fates, being a part of the raid, being a Cantina farm, a large majority of players should have access to him at higher gear by now. It shouldn't be too tough to get that done. Now at this point, before we start talking about different sector feats, it's important for you to remember that I do this and I make these, not guides, I make these blueprints for myself, all right? So these are really how I'm going to go through the sectors. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to be the way that works for you, for the tools you have available to you. I do try to look at other options, and I do try to be considerate of that, so hopefully there's some tricks that you'll be able to find from here as well. These graphics are made by Moonborn, who does all of my graphics. He does all of my cards, he does all of the infographics associated to the work that I do. He did not do my stream overlay, that was haphazardly thrown together by me, but he has some upgrades in the work that he's finishing up to those overlays so that I can finally say, yes, he literally does everything. Those graphics will be available on our Discord. If you're not already there, jump on over there, and will probably be available on Reddit as well. So with that said, before we get into Sector 1 proper, I just want to kind of take a look at some of these feats overall to show you what I mean by these new characters and how tough this is going to be. In Sector 1, we need to win 10 battles with Morgan Elsbeth and gain Decay. In Sector 2, we need to get Alert and we need to defeat enemies with Morgan Elsbeth. In Sector 3, do we have anything here? Nothing that isn't readily available. In Sector 4, we need to gain Blight. And in Sector 5, we need to do kills with Death Trooper Peridia. So that's 6 feats, not including bonus feats, bonus battles, not including boss battles, mini-boss battles. 6 feats attached to characters that are going to be unavailable to the majority of people. That is going to be 15, 25, not here, 30, 35, 40, 45 sector-related feats, and we can only get rid of 34 of them, right? Now, a lot of the times you can cheese these feats, and so if you have these characters at 3 stars, they should be doable, but we have never seen something as blatant as this in the past when it comes to new characters, and this is what I mean when I say that going for Ahsoka as a earlier game player and knowing that Ezra is going to be a large portion and proponent of that team, this is going to be something that's going to be a little bit tougher for you. So let's take a look at these sectors, see how I'm going to do it. Maybe you learn some tricks, maybe we get something that helps you out. Our sector feats for Sector 1, attempt to inflict tenacity down 50 times, win 10 battles with Morgan Elsbeth surviving, gain Decay 50 times, and defeat 35 enemies with Gungans. For tenacity down, I am going to most likely prioritize my Gungan team more than anything else, and I'm going to want to use them early because I'm going to need them in pretty much every sector. So if I can get those 7 battles in early to get those wins, I'm going to get tenacity down, Gungan kills, Gungan wins, and Tarpals has an AoE stagger, which is going to help me out. After those 7 battles, I might even just do 5 because of stamina reasons. I'm going to be using my CLS team because Chupio on basic, and he assists constantly, is going to give me considerable amounts of tenacity down. For Decay, I'm calling this my James Gunn squad, alright? Because this is a team that does not need to win with Captain Enoch. Captain Enoch's Decay mechanic, basically, instead of your characters dying, they're going to get 1 stack of Decay and go back up to 100% health, minus the 10% that they lose. So this should stack up relatively quickly. The team does not need to win. There is a lot of crit avoidance inherently in Enoch's kit, but with the Zeta, it increases it considerably to way beyond anything that is reasonable. So I do see this Decay feat as a relative freebie for anybody that is serious about getting these teams, and I would consider throwing that Zeta on just to make things easier. I will be throwing Scout into that team so that I can try to get a couple of staggers so that I don't have to worry about this later on. Now, for my Morgan wins, my first attempt is going to be to use my Night Sisters and see how that works. Morgan does prevent Night Sister revive, so that changes the dynamic of the Night Sister team. I am hoping that I get at least 1 Zealous Ambition to make this go a little bit easier. I don't know if it's going to work, but I do have Relic 8 Night Sisters, so I'm going to try it and hope for the best. If that doesn't work, I have options with JMK and with JML to get Master Qui-Gon in a squad and Morgan Elsbeth. Probably on the Bad Batch bonus node, probably on some of the easier nodes like Bounty Hunters, to try and get my global done, to get my Morgan battles done. I also have Third Sister as an option, especially if I'm getting Amplify Agonies. I'm probably not going to prioritize this feat if my Night Sisters can't do it, and will opt to do it later on the bonus node once I have more data discs available to me. But we'll see what happens on day 1. You know, I'll know more at that point. Sector 2, I have gain bonus turns 50 times, defeat 35 enemies with Morgan Elsbeth, gain alert 20 times, attempt to inflict breach 50 times. This doesn't look too terribly bad. I am really hoping for considerable Amplify Agony. It's going to make Morgan a lot easier to contend with. In the event that that is not the case, I'm going to use my Darth Treya squad and look for something like Geonosians so that I can get those mass assists and just eat them up with Morgan in the end. If I am able to get considerable Amplify Agonies, I'm going to use something like Lord Vader plus Morgan or Third Sister plus Morgan to knock them out really quickly and eat them up later on. I'm going to be relying heavily on my Jedi Master Luke squad, and there is a couple ways that we can go about doing this. Jedi Master Luke, Jedi Knight Luke, Master Qui-Gon, what if there is no voluntary Vanguard, and then I can choose to either prioritize Stagger, which I'm probably not going to do, or prioritize bonus turns with Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, who gets a bonus turn anytime he does a basic on his turn, right? To rack those up as much as possible. I don't think Stagger is something I have to heavily prioritize because a lot of the teams I am going to be using are going to have it available, and it is something that I can do on the bonus nodes later on. That's going to give me my breach, that's going to give me my Master Qui-Gon wins. It's hopefully going to give me my bonus turns. I am also looking to get some more Gungan battles in here to get a couple more staggers and to get a few more Gungan wins. Again, I'm not going to hyper prioritize this team simply because there is nothing in the feats that's requiring it for this team sector specifically. But if I find myself with some Ector battles, this is where I'm going to do it. Night Sisters, I'm going to throw in my full Night Sister team. Off of the thumbnail I'm looking at, I honestly don't know if that's Night Trooper or Death Trooper Peridia. It looks like Night Trooper, Drunk Trooper, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Use the one that gives alert. And I'm going to try to do a stall mechanic team because, again, my Night Sisters are on the stronger side. I'm going to look for things probably that have a lot of debuff immunity, maybe like a First Order squad or a Phoenix squad, so that I can try to get as much alert in one battle just to get it over with. Thankfully, there's only 20 needed. Now, I also have some bonus turn meter options that are great for plug-and-play teams. Thrawn, General Hux, and Skiff can all give bonus turns, and it doesn't matter the faction of the person you're giving them to. So you can throw these guys into anything. It might be an option to throw any 3 of them into your JML squad instead of Watt, if voluntary Vanguard is available. Otherwise, it will be a little bit harder to do that. You can throw them in with your Treya squad. I'm not going to throw them in with my Night Sisters because I need that 5th slot. But if you just need a pull team or you're on the bonus node already, these are some options that are going to be available to you to try and get a bunch of bonus turns in one battle. Once again, I remind you, it's not necessarily how quickly you finish Conquest. It matters how quickly you get to only using bonus nodes. That becomes the important metric. Sector 3, we have gain evasion up, win 15 battles with Night Sister Acolyte surviving, gain retaliate 15 times, win 15 battles with your Geonosians. Now, once again, my Night Sisters are great, but my Acolyte is not. I don't think this is going to be a problem because of the revive mechanics, and at this point, I should have ample Amplify Agonies available to me if that is part of what we're doing, so it shouldn't be too hard to keep Acolyte alive. Retaliate is a Gungan thing with Phalanx, which is going to give me more stagger with Tarpals, and my Gungan wins, so I'm going to work with that team considerably in the early parts of Sector 3. Luminara is an option that a lot of people now have available thanks to the Lightspeed bundle, thanks to the raid. So my JML team, I'm going to be throwing in Master Qui-Gon and Luminara. She does evasion up in basic, and if I considerably call her to the battle, to attack, I should get those evasion ups as quickly as possible. My big thing that I am concerned about is Geonosian wins. Mine are all Relic 0 to about Relic 3. I think I have a G12 in there somewhere. They're not a great team. I am going to be looking for something like Bad Batch. I'm going to be hoping for something like Leadership Resolve. I'm hoping that summoning data mine that we had is a data disk, not a consumable. I might even maybe look for a bounty hunter node that only has one reviver, so a Boba Fett or a Jango Fett, not both. Just something that is going to be easier to outspeed and something that's going to be easier to take down with the turn meter mechanics the team has available. I'm probably not going to prioritize this feat until towards the very end when I have my whole group of data disks available and just work on it after I'm done. Some other options that you do have available to you is the CLS team. Han Solo has an AoE evasion up. And you can use either Third Sister lead, you can use Grand Inquisitor lead, you can use Fifth Brother lead. Seventh Sister has evasion up on her AoE heal, so if that is a team you have available to you, then great. If you do not have a full Gungan team available to you, you can really use any of the light side Galactic Legends with Phalanx to bring up the Retaliate that he brings out. Something like JML with Watt and all healers, or Rey, are going to allow you to stall considerably. JMK is going to be a little bit harder because of all of the ramping that happens on that team. You could throw Watt and GK and auto basic except on Phalanx, who would need to use his special to try to get those if you really want to do it that way, or you just don't have the Gungans as available as I do. Sector 4, gain tenacity up 50 times, win 15 battles with Keller and Beck, attempt to inflict or gain blight. So on either side, your side or their side, defeat 30 enemies with Night Sisters. So tenacity up, I'm going to throw into a JMK squad with Keller and Beck and with Master Qui-Gon. It's a pretty strong squad. That'll do considerable damage in the battles, but will also get me tenacity up through Grandmaster Yoda's AoE. I will get my Master Qui-Gon wins, and I will be able to get my win 15 battles with Keller and Beck. My Night Sisters kills, I'm going to use a normal Night Sister squad, and I'm going to use, once again, whichever one of these new Night Sisters this is that does Blight. They all look the same to me. Hashtag canceled. I will get my Night Sister wins from that team as well. I'm not too worried about it because of the AoE mechanics. Now, some other options for Keller and Beck wins. You could do a Quad May squad, and as ridiculous as that sounds, like, hey, you don't have JMK, why do you have Quad May? Believe it or not, I do know quite a few people that really heavily prioritized her. You could also try a Padme squad, again, against something that does not have a lot of speed associated with it. So maybe those Bounty Hunter squads, or maybe the Bad Batch squad. Now, for Night Sister for Night Sister kills, if Zealous Ambition is not available, which basically supercharges that team, if Zealous Ambition is not available and you do not have strong Night Sisters, one, I really would highly consider building up your Night Sisters for this Conquest cycle because they're so considerably used. But you could try the Traya cheese, you could try the Lord Vader cheese with Amplify Agony. Once again, if those things are available. You could throw a Sage Ventress into a Separatist squad if that's what you have available to you. But I largely think the best way is going to be to just build up that team as is. You're going to want to avoid Bounty Hunter squads because your revivers like Boba Fett and Jango Fett are also going to have anti-revive mechanics. Sector 5. We've got gain accuracy up 50 times, attempt to inflict plague 100 times, defeat 25 enemies with Death Trooper Peridia, win 15 battles with Genosian Spy surviving. So, this is where things kind of get tough, and I'm actually a little bit worried about Plague. If this is a offense set, and I have a lot of Amplify Agony, they're going to blow up the other team. If it is a defense set and I have too many Zealous Ambition, they're also going to blow up the enemy team. Which means Plague takes a lot longer than it should take to get where you need it to get. So in the past, what I have done with this feat, if it was on like Sector 2 or 3, is I would avoid placing those discs until then. However, this is Sector 5, and I really want to have a complete set. I think that what I am going to try to do is just get what I get and don't get upset. And after I finish the sector and have done all of the hard things, I will take those discs off and try to farm it in 1 or 2 additional battles. Jedi Master Luke with Seer. Seer has an accuracy up on her basic. You can throw Spy into that team as well. I really prefer not to throw both into the same team, but I have it here on the graphic just in case I find the right nodes for it. Especially if there is no voluntary Vanguard and I have to waste a slot on Watt. The good news is that Seer is going to build that stuff up really quickly, so even if I have to throw a Spy in, I can do it after 2 to 3 battles. Now, Night Trooper Peridia kills. Again, there are a couple of options. I think that he has the Night Sister tag, and if so, I'm going to throw it there. But we have the Traya cheese, we have the Lord Vader cheese, depending on, once again, what's available to us. Other options really largely are going to be heavily involving either Lord Vader or Reva. Now, here's the thing. As you notice, and as we go through these sectors, you see that there is a theme of me basically using Jedi Master Luke, me using Third Sister, me using my Night Sisters, which is going to take a considerable amount of stamina. So I'm really going to try to use these other teams as much as I reasonably feel like I can, so that I can try and keep their stamina as high as possible. Some nodes that I am going to be looking for and that I might divert from the gold path in order to get are things like a Phoenix node, especially if Sabine is not on there, Geo nodes, Tusken nodes, because there's no AoE on that team, which makes them really great for farming. Bounty Hunter nodes with only 1 Reviver are super awesome. Bad Batch nodes. First Order nodes I try to avoid because the Sith Trooper AoE explodes things, but it is nice to get one if you feel like you're not going to be going out of your way to get it. I will remind you that I am not doing Dark Trooper Moff Gideon. It is not a priority to me. We'll see and we'll reassess as we get through this first set of Conquest, but I do not foresee myself bringing him past G12 to make win 20 battles with a full Imperial Remnant squad. A reliable source of battles without having to do them all as farms. The nice thing, though, about this Conquest is that, once again, there are no win 40 battles feats, and we've reduced those down to 20 and 15, which does make Conquest a little bit more bearable in the long run. Why are we not talking about the boss feats? I don't know what the bosses are, right? There are some win with new characters feats in those bosses, but until we know what they are, until we know what the modifiers are behind them, we don't necessarily know how to beat those nodes. What I will say is that as a player at the higher end, I generally avoid using any of my free consumables until after I've done all 5 sectors, and then I will use those consumables to beat the harder ones. So I'm going to avoid using my massively overpowered, I'm going to avoid using my deployable cooling systems, I'm going to avoid using the plus health or protection or speed or whatever I get from the reward track itself, and I'm going to use those heavily to brute force the battles for the bosses at the very end. With all of that said, I wish everybody the best of luck with this Conquest. I don't think it's going to be the easiest one. I do think it's going to be harder if you're on the lower end. If you need help with it, join us on Discord, join the discussion. We have our Conquest channels. We have Kazgul, one of the Redditors who for some reason loves Conquest and comes up with every single cheese strat that you could possibly imagine. We have Blackhammer there, but he's useless and probably a reason to get rid of the server if we're completely honest. But other than him, we have plenty of resources available to help you and plenty of people who are willing to help you, including myself. With that said, I wish everybody the best of luck and peace out.